Welcome to the Inventor's Edge podcast, where insight meets innovation. Whether you're sketching your first idea or refining a finished product, you're in the right place. Our mission is to equip you with the tools, expertise, and clarity you need to succeed as an inventor, while helping you conquer fears and limiting beliefs that may be holding you back. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, founder and CEO of Inventor's Edge. Before becoming a seasoned product development coach, I was a wide-eyed inventor with a head full of ideas but no clear path forward. I know firsthand what it's like to feel stuck, uncertain, and overwhelmed. Fast forward to today, I'm a successful entrepreneur with multiple licensing deals and products on the market. I'm committed to helping inventors like you overcome obstacles, conquer fears, and transform your ideas into tangible success through proven, actionable, step-by-step strategies that deliver real results. Join us as we bring in industry pros, share expert advice, and dive deep into the world of innovation. Ready to turn your ideas into reality? Let's get started. Today, I am so excited to welcome Steve Greenspon to the podcast. Steve is the founder and former CEO of Honey Can Do International, a company he built from the ground up into a global brand with over 110 million in annual revenue and customers in more than 70 countries. Over the past 18 years, Steve launched products into nearly every major U.S. retailer, talking about Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, Home Depot, and so many more. And not only has Steve successfully navigated multiple market shifts and economic downturns, but he's also completed 3 company exits, giving him a very unique perspective on what it takes to scale, sell, and succeed in a world of product-based businesses. So for inventors and entrepreneurs listening today, this conversation is packed with insights on how companies like Honey Can Do evaluate new products, what it takes to stand out to buyers, and how to turn an idea into a brand that resonates worldwide. Let's dive in with Steve Greenspon. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Well, it's an honor to have you on. I was really excited to talk with you and learn more about your journey. And with that, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and how you got started on your entrepreneurial journey.
I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you. Steve Greenspon, living in the Chicago area. I recently sold my company, Honey Can Do International. We are the leading brand of home storage, organization, and laundry care products for consumers. Think of things like shelving units, coat hangers, laundry hampers, drying racks, related items to that. We designed our own products and subcontracted the manufacturing through facilities in Asia, primarily China, Vietnam, Taiwan, and other countries. And then we sold our products, both brick and mortar and e-commerce, almost exclusively in the US and Canada, through major retailers like Walmart, Amazon, Wayfair, Target, Home Depot, Menards, and others.
Awesome. Wow. Were you always an entrepreneurial person even as a little kid? Did you have entrepreneurial ventures, or what did that look like?
A little bit. So my dad owned his own company, so it was kind of ingrained in me from a young age to one day be an entrepreneur, start my own company, and then execute on it. Coming out of college, I worked for my dad's company, which was a wholesaler of heating and air conditioning equipment and supplies. So that was the warehouse that sold the products to the contractors that folks would call to go to their house for repair and replacement of their heating and air conditioning needs. And I just, learned a lot from him. He was kind of a, very successful, very no-nonsense type of entrepreneur, and then was a great role model for me in terms of going off on that journey.
That's great. Did you adopt that same attitude, the no nonsense, get it done? Or were you a little softer?
I would say that I was a little bit softer. I call them my dadisms, for lack of a better term. I remember one story where, and I say this with all the love in the world, because I lost my dad earlier this year, and he was absolutely one of my heroes.
Sorry to hear that.
One story where he I was in my early 20s and recently joined the company, and I saw at some seminar that all companies should have a motto. And here, I'm going to my dad who already had a successful company. And I know it's things like, we want to be the most environmentally friendly company in our industry, or we want to treat our employees the best. It was very soft and,
Mhm.
and feely things. And that, just wasn't my dad in many ways. So I go to him with this huge amount of enthusiasm and say, we need a motto. We need something that all the employees can kind of gather around. He says, well, we already have a motto and we already have our goals. And I said, really, what is it? And he said, our goal at this company is to make as much money for the shareholders as possible. I said, well, we can't exactly put that on a sign, and have that in the
Thanks.
office. But
Yeah,
it kind of taught me, that like doing that makes all the other things happen, all the good things that companies do.
sure.
But of course, it's a requirement for any successful company that you make money, and you remember that it's the shareholders that kind of, they're the ones making the investments and making the sacrifices, and they deserve and need to have a profit, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, they keep the wheels spinning. It doesn't
Exactly.
always look that good on a billboard though, right?
No, exactly right.
That's awesome. So I want to start at the beginning with Honey Can Do. I guess what inspired you to start that company to begin with?
So I had an idea for the platform. So in between working for my dad and starting Honey Can Do, I had been an owner, one-third owner at a company called LDR Industries. And the platform there was plumbing and bath products, subcontracting the manufacturing to Asia, and then selling. And with those products, we sold primarily through home centers and hardware stores, folks like Home
Mm,
Depot, Lowe's, Menards, Ace Hardware, etc. So had that platform down. There were some things that I didn't necessarily agree with my partners on, so sold them my one-third share, and I used that as seed money. Started Honey Can Do. We I had the platform in place, and this was 2007, and there really wasn't a very active e-commerce market going on for home products. And I just thought that would be a great growth avenue there. Although the goal is certainly to get in brick and mortar as well.
mhm,
So had the platform down, knew what I wanted to do, but I just didn't know what product category it was. And so I just walked the aisles at just about every retailer out there, looked at hand tools, looked at appliances and indoor environmental products, and just a kind of a wide range of things. And right away, I kept going back to home storage and organization. I thought it was a relatively easy category that I could understand. I certainly like to be well organized and neat in my personal life.
mhm.
I understand laundry. I've always done my own laundry and have a little bit of I hate to use the word passion, but I'm very particular about my laundry.
Yeah.
So I understand that pretty well. I learned the items, learned the category, and I saw opportunities there in terms of, as I walked the aisles, there were no major brands there. So I
Mm,
didn't need to be concerned about there being a loyalty either by the retailers or by consumers to a certain brand, that if I didn't have that, I was at a disadvantage. And also, I looked at what was on the shelves at that time, and there was not a lot of innovation in the category, and there was not a lot of, the packaging wasn't that great in the category.
mhm,
And I saw margin opportunities. I could tell just by kind of looking at the items and understanding what the materials were and what the manufacturing processes were,
mhm.
roughly what I could sell it for, what I could make it for, and be able to sell it for. And I looked at the retails, and I thought that I just would be able to come out with a decent price advantage right off the bat.
Yeah, that's great. I have to ask because I've mentioned your company to inventors and I've worked with lots of inventors around the world, and they always ask about the name of the company. Is there a story there that you can share about how
Yeah.
we came up with the name? It's really unique.
So yeah. So originally this was going to be kind of a silly side venture for me and everything.
Yeah.
So the original name of the company was actually Uranus Home Products.
Hmm.
For the planet and the Greek god, of course. So, but as and I thought it'd be funny because the tagline was another quality product from Uranus. So exactly.
Absolutely.
But so I'm talking with somebody one day, and they said, "Really, you're going to call up the buyer at a major retail and say, 'Hi, this is Steve, and I'm calling from Uranus.' And do you really think you're going to get taken seriously if that's what you're doing?" Changed the name, coming up with different names, throwing them around in a little bit of a brainstorming session. And, the goal is to make things easier around the house. And of course, there's an old saying about the honeydew list where, folks will do things at home on the weekends, honeydew the windows, honeydew the flooring, honeydew the garage. And it's not meant to be, one gender over another, but it's, just kind of a family oriented thing.
Hmm.
And I thought, what, if we're empowering folks to be able to do things themselves and not rely on hiring somebody to help them be more organized or help them with different tasks around the house, let's empower them with Honey can do it. Honey can do these things, and that was
Hmm.
the goal of the company was to help people be able to do these things themselves.
I love that. I love adding the word can. It's
Yeah,
for this very empowering word instead of just honeydew this,
yeah,
or
exactly
even
right.
to call the company, the honeydew or something like that. But honey can do. It's got a very optimistic kind of a ring to it, which is great.
Exactly right.
And with that in mind, I know that I've spoken with people at your company at different trade shows and things, and I've watched the booth just go from a good size to begin with, but like seems like it exponentially grew over the years. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with you and your vision. Was that part of the plan? Like, let's grow this thing as big as we can, or was that just an organic thing?
One of the goals was to grow the company and grow it quickly.
Yeah.
We were on the Inc. 5000 list for, I believe, 9 or 10 years. We were recognized by Crane Chicago Business on their Fast 50 list for 3 years in a row, which is not an easy thing to do because it's based on the cumulative growth. And we saw opportunities in the market, and we just did our best to grow and gain new partners. And I was always investing in the company for the next stage of growth.
Hmm.
So, to me, the growth was fun, the growth was exciting, and I enjoyed it. From the beginning, we invested in a pretty sophisticated ERP software system. We always had very good people within the company to help us grow to the next level. And it was something where I always tried to stay a little bit ahead.
Hmm.
We had a much bigger building that we needed at the beginning. And then, the plan was to grow into it with a lot of other things, the team and the software and the sophistication and the different things we were doing. And to me, that was fun. I always wanted to,
Hmm.
build a company that I enjoyed being at and was doing great things.
Yeah. Yeah. And being around great people and being able to hire great people yourself, right? Instead of walking into something and having to kind of rearrange things a bit. It's nice to grow it. So, and I know as inventors, Honey Can Do was always one of the companies that I recommended the people that I worked with who were pitching home improvement products, home organization, cleaning, things like that, because I really liked the vibe and the innovations side of the company seemed like that was hardwired into the company. So I know you've worked with outside developers before, and I know a lot of inventors listening are like, all right, what are they looking for when I submit it? What does that look like what does your team look for when you're evaluating a new product idea from the outside?
So it's innovation. It's a challenge, and whether it's our internal team coming up with a new product or working with outside resources on a new product, they need to understand the market. And I understand that it's difficult for individual inventors to have access to the data to know what's going to be out there, and also it's patience and knowing that, because a lot of large retailers, you might have the best invention in the world at the best price, but it's a huge risk. I won't forget the merchant at Walmart. When we were presenting to him, he said, "You know what? It's an interesting product. Now tell me, which 50 million product should I take off my shelf to put on your untested brand new product that may fail in the first 2 months? Which one should I do? And how are you going to make it right if it doesn't do well?" Obviously everything that's on the store shelves have been tested over a long time and are there for a reason. They're not, the real estate inside the stores is so valuable that they're not doing, they're not making changes for things that aren't proven. So,
Yeah.
now there's, almost everything needs to be tested online first, and
Hmm.
show what can be done. And there the volume is significantly less than what it would be in the store. And
Hmm.
of course, with just about any product that comes out, there's costs involved in setting up the tooling and doing the minimum production run and designing the packaging and everything else. And before that product is even ready for market, there's huge expenses involved in that.
Hmm.
And it's difficult to take that risk on something that's just unproven.
Yeah.
So anyway, to answer your original question about what are we looking for, it's knowing the market and what consumers want, and making things that would make people's lives easier at a reasonable cost, and that is marketable to be sold through retailers.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And how far along this question always comes up, can I send a shiny sketch on a napkin, or do I need a fully developed product? Do I, as the inventor, need to have sold some of these? How much IP do I need? I know
Yeah.
that's a lot of different factors, but how does that land for you?
So I would say before you send anything to anybody, you should either have a non-disclosure if you don't want to, if you're not ready to spend the money on the patent yet. But anything that's not protected, either with a signed document or with a trademark or a patent, is kind of in the open domain.
Hmm.
So I'd be careful if you have an innovative idea that is truly innovative and that truly will go to market. By the same token, though, and I don't want to step on anybody's dreams and anybody's wishes, but submissions from folks who have clearly spent a lot of money on professional drawings and on patents and on different things. And I look at the product, and within 10 seconds, can understand that this isn't something that will be successful in the market. And I feel bad about that, because I know that they have the best of intentions and they want to see this do well, but it's just not something that they'll get their money back on after making these large investments.
Yeah.
I would say it's difficult for independent designers to bring things to market and have that submission. There are companies that companies hire, obviously, to design products for them, and they give them the data, and they'll say, "Hey, I need a new blender that costs under, within this range of retail, and that does these features, and that does this, and is kind of something unique, and will look aesthetically pleasing in the kitchen, and whatever else." And obviously there it's outsiders doing the designs, but it's based on kind of what the brands see. And the brands obviously know the market for their specific products better than anybody else, and they're the ones that kind of drive that.
Yeah, I think for a lot of inventors, they think, well, I have this problem, I have this solution, so there must be other people that also have the same problem, and there must be millions of them, and this is a bazillion-dollar idea.
Yeah, I will say though, Scott, yeah, and you're absolutely right that, and sometimes that's absolutely correct. Everybody has the same issue when they talk about with their friends and family, and that's true. And sometimes it's nope, it's only you and a couple of people that you spoke to that have that issue, or maybe the issue exists but nobody's willing to spend money in order to resolve it. Today, more so than at any time in the past, and I think it's going to continue to get better, is it's easier for inventors to bring the product to market without going through a brand.
Hmm.
Just with all the marketplaces and all the resources for warehousing and shipping and being able to outsource your manufacturing and all of these things that are out there,
Hmm.
it's easier for folks to do this without needing to go to a brand and do it themselves, if they're willing, if they feel so confident in their product that they're willing to do that themselves.
Yeah, that's such a great point. There are so many more tools now, I think, than there's ever been for getting the product from your head into the marketplace, onto Amazon, at least to get started. And that's one of the things that I like to help people with is, hey, let's take a shot at licensing. I look at that as a plan A. Maybe you get an
Absolutely.
easy win, but you're going to get some great feedback. And then if that doesn't work out, but you have some feedback enough to make you feel confident, let's look at venturing it yourself and bringing it to market.
Absolutely.
So that's such a great point. And with Swat and Scoop for my product, doing that led to two different licensing deals because I then had some proven sales and a brand name and went through all of those things that the company didn't have to do. It's done. It's ready.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The licensing certainly makes life easier for the inventor, and I agree with you. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, I'm always excited about that and excited to help people do that because there are less barriers to entry. You're not waiting for someone at Honey Can Do to say, "Yes, we want this. We're going to take it on," or any other brand. You're just marching it forward and then have those proven sales and customer feedback. And I think it's all about risk, right? Lowering that
Yeah,
risk.
yeah. And I will say that if an inventor is able to prove the viability of the product on their own through sales on Amazon Marketplace or one of the other marketplaces,
Mhm.
then it's a lot easier to go to a brand and license it now that you've got that proven track record.
Yeah, you sound like me. That's good.
There you go.
I want to chat a little bit about Honey Can Do, taking it from a startup to a $110 million company. Looking back, what were a couple key decisions that really were turning points that you feel like made the biggest impact on that growth? If you could think of a couple.
Yeah, it was, you know what, from the start, we had success. Our first major customer was Target, and we had that really before, very quickly after starting the company. But I'd had experience selling to Target prior to that. I'm not, I mean, we had a lot of obstacles and downtimes along the way. In terms of, there's always challenges, but you do your best to work around them. We, through decades of building relationships with middle market banks. I was able to get an asset based line without too many problems. So we always had access to capital
Mhm.
through contacts and relationships. And I always was able to sell well to retailers. And I understand each retailer and the differences between selling to a mass retailer versus a home center, or selling to a Walmart versus a Target, and the makeup of their consumers and what they're looking for and their styles and their price points. I'll tell you, over the years, I've read every single book that I could find on retailers and
Mhm.
individual ones, and autobiographies and biographies of the founders, and reading their annual reports, and reading different studies by different market groups about them and how they're doing and what's important to them and what's going on in the market. You know,
Wow.
Walking into the store and actually shopping their aisles and understanding what they do and how they do it. And that's how you understand the retailers. So that way, when you go to talk to them about your product and even deciding what products you're going to show to them, you're ready well before the meeting starts. Because you go to them and you say, okay, I have this product for you, and this price point is well within what your consumers are looking for, and this style aesthetic fitting in with this private label brand that you do, with the materials that your label uses, and just understanding how they go to market and being able to show them, one, that you understand who they are as a retailer and who they're doing and who they're trying to go after, and having products specifically ready for them. That gives you a huge advantage right off the front, and a much, much better chance of success, rather than taking a meeting and showing them something and wasting their time because it's not the price point to their consumer, or it's not the right product for their consumer.
How often do you think that happens? I mean, do you think the average person does all that homework and all that due diligence, or are they just throwing things at them?
That's the advantage of having a professional salesperson versus, not. I'm sure that these merchants, if you can get a hold of them, they receive inquiries from people all the time saying, hey, I've got this great new product that should be on your shelves, and blah, blah, blah. If people are persistent enough to be able to find them. And yeah, and I'm sure that at some point they get a little bit weary of that. So then, even when good products come along from companies that they're just not familiar with, they might get shooed away. But yeah, for certain, I've and even for myself, not necessarily with products or different things, and I'm sure everybody in the world has been subject to just really, really bad salespeople that don't understand your company and who you are and what you want to do,
Right.
and make it about the salesperson instead of about what they can do for the person they're selling to.
Yeah.
There's a great book, and I'm gonna butcher the name, but it was something to the effect of like the 7 minute salesperson or the 10 minute salesperson. It was a book like that. I'm trying to blank on the author, and it's a very easy read, and it's a very thin book and simple book. And every single thing that you read in there, you're gonna nod your head and say, "Boy, that makes a lot of sense." but it has basic things that every salesperson should know. Most importantly is understand who your customer is and what their motivations are, and how to make what you're selling meaningful to them, and how will it help them with their goals. And that's the bottom
Right.
line.
Yeah. Be focused on them, not just yourself and how excited you are and how cool the product is.
Exactly.
Are you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, are you in a position where are you mentoring other people to do that? Or have you thought about that? Or have you written your book yet?
Yeah, I haven't written a book. I don't know if that's in the works, but I certainly love doing that and talking to anybody that'll listen to me.
Man.
The of inventory cycle counts, and you get a real high on that, and understanding that whole process. I'm on boards of a couple of companies and love working with the staff members there, and trying to make them more successful. Something I absolutely enjoy. I've recently gotten involved in a program at my alma mater, which is Northwestern University, called The Garage. And
Mhm.
it's a great lab and innovative area for students, exclusively for students, to start
Yeah.
their own companies and develop their own products, and do their own thing there. And I was just super impressed by that and the resources available to them today
Mhm.
that certainly weren't there when I was a student. And it's just phenomenal, and what a great learning experience. And you know what, you often learn a lot more in the failures than you do in the successes. And
For
and
for
at
sure.
that young age, it's okay and it's healthy to have some failures behind you.
That's
So,
how you learn.
yeah.
I've been to the garage at Northwestern. My
Ah,
daughter's applying there. She's a senior in high school, and it
fantastic.
made me want to go back to school. I'm looking around like I could go back to school. I could spend some time here. This is amazing.
That's exactly how I felt. You go in there and you're just inspired, and,
Yeah.
and you're surrounded by a lot of smart people, and you're like, holy cow. That's
It's
boy, I wish I was 19 years old and starting a company and have these resources and be able to do it. And I just want to. It shouldn't be your goal to fail so you can learn. You should want to have your goal be to succeed. But if heaven forbid you do your best and you fail, it's not the end of the world, and you learn something.
Thanks for that disclaimer.
For anybody listening who says like, "Oh, it's okay to fail. I'll do this, and it won't make sense, and I won't try real hard." So, but at least I learned.
Right. Yeah, don't make it your goal to fail.
Exactly, exactly. But if you do fail, it's not the end of the world, and life goes on.
Yeah, I've heard the term fail forward
Yeah. Oh,
with
there you
that.
go.
Yeah, keep looking forward, aim for your goals, work to your goals. If you're getting tripped up or you're having these little failures, that's part of the journey, but keep the eye on the prize for sure.
Absolutely.
We had Dr. Dan Brown from Northwestern University on a podcast a while back, and it was really interesting to hear him talk about supply chain and how passionate he was as well from the perspective of designing products with supply chain in mind. Like I'd never heard that before. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it's so that's a really really good point. But and this is something that we would always talk with our product designers about, was a great product, but with certain, I'll say with Amazon, they have certain requirements if a product is over a certain size. So we'd
Mhm.
say we want this type of product, but the packaging, the shippable packaging has to be under these dimensions in order for it to come out. So they would look at ways that it would be knocked down, so it'd be within those dimensions, and also for shelf space at a brick and mortar retailer. At certain retailers, they want it small so they could fit more products on the shelves. But at other retailers, say at a warehouse club, they want your packaging to be big to show what a great value it is, and really spread this thing out, and doing
Mhm.
it in different ways. And of course, as you alluded to, for container shipping,
Mhm.
it costs the same amount to ship a container from Asia to the United States, whether there's 1,000 units on it or 10,000 units on it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you do much better in terms of your landed cost of the product if you could get that thing packaged in a much smaller box. So that way you could fit a lot more of them on the container. So the cost for each one to ship it is significantly less. And the same thing when you're shipping parcel or LTL within the United States. The shippers charge by volume as well as weight.
Mhm.
So if you're able to ship the same product in a much smaller cube, that's advantageous as well.
Yeah, such a great point. And when I'm talking to inventors, when we start getting into packaging and if their product's a little bigger, it's like, okay, you have this broom, but how do we dismantle the handle and fold it down so it can come in a smaller package? For all of those reasons, Costco and Sam's Club aside, you know, the average retailer, it makes so much sense. And thinking about the merchandising of products ahead of time, designing it with, an end cap in mind or a floor display or a wing rack or whatever, having some flexibility there, I think is important too.
Absolutely.
And you hold over 35 patents yourself. So, I mean, talking to a real inventor here, how have you balanced, being an innovator with leading a company that evaluates innovation from others? Were you still working on some of your own stuff? I mean, obviously
Yeah.
within the company, but what?
So, and just for clarity, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a designer or anything like that, but I like to think that I know the market so well because as most entrepreneurs do, you become so ingrained in your company and the industry that you understand it so well. Um, so I would work with our design team and say, okay, we have a review coming up with this retailer, and we're looking for this type of product, and wouldn't it be great if it could do this? And I'm kind of envisioning the product for them, and then they're coming out with the specific designs and the specific ways to bring this to life. So my idea, and then just kind of working with the designers on on many of the details. But yeah, it's and that's part of being ingrained. Like I was never able to do it, but we were significant in the trash can category.
Hmm.
So kitchen cans and cans for the bathroom primarily.
Yeah.
So and you're shipping air, to the point about the volume of this product. So it's not an expensive item. And
Mhm,
if you look at a trash can, it's a big thing and not a lot of value and a lot of air inside there.
mhm.
So for years, I was trying to work with the team on ways to make a trash can smaller and have people, somehow build their own trash can or have like an accordion type trash can,
Sure.
so that way they could, find a way to ship it for a less expensive number. And wasn't able to come to market with it, but boy, did I
Yeah.
try to have ideas around that.
Maybe there's something there. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
thinking about how to nest them so you
yeah,
can, really
exactly.
stack them up, but I think of that collapsible laundry basket. I
Yep.
wonder if there's something with a garbage can, if that could be your next big idea, Steve.
There you go. There you go. You know what? I'll leave that for somebody else.
Yeah, some low-hanging fruit out there, people.
Exactly right. So all those inventors listening, that if you got something, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. One question on scaling Honey Can Do. After you've scaled it so successfully, what insights can you share maybe about positioning a business for long-term sustainability and even an eventual acquisition that inventors or people venturing might want to just keep in mind?
Yeah, so some of the things that I would say about that is, in terms of scaling, we always invested for the future and tried to have, as we grew, we wanted to make sure that we had the right infrastructure in place, whether it be the team or the facilities or the technology. They're constantly trying out new technologies and new things, and and supporting the people with their ideas with that. And it's always be selling and always be protecting the sales that we do have. We were years ahead in terms of supporting e-commerce than any of our competitors within the category, and just understood e-commerce very, very well. And to be honest, I would take any meeting that I could with somebody that called me and said, hey, I've got this software on to help you sell better through Amazon or Wayfair or Walmart.com or any of the e-commerce players out there. And we would take the meeting and listen, and 9 out of 10 times it wasn't a fit or it was a dud. But occasionally we got some great ideas that really helped the company out there. That were phenomenal. Some data platforms that we used, and some companies that helped make advertising more efficient on the different sites and everything.
Mhm.
Do your best to keep your debt low, because if you hit a little bit of a downtime in the market, you want to be ready, and in a good position financially to be able to support it. maintain a strong relationship with your bank, because obviously they have the ability to be as supportive or unsupportive as they choose to be, depending on the relationship
Hmm.
and how much they believe in you as an entrepreneur. Let's see. The relationships with the customers and your vendors, of course, and of course having the right team in place are obviously the key.
Yeah, fantastic. Great advice. I have a couple bonus questions here
Of course.
as we're winding down. You've developed and seen hundreds of products come to life. Do you have a favorite aha moment when you knew, like, oh, that is going to be a hit? I can feel it in my bones.
So you know what, the most successful products we had were the kind of the basics that weren't very innovative, and this is within our category, storage and organization and laundry care. They're the basics are always going to be the best sellers. We were at one time the largest provider of ironing boards in the US, and we certainly weren't doing, it wasn't the fanciest and most complicated ironing boards that we could make. It was the basic that was the number one seller. And the same thing with your basic mesh laundry bag and your we were the largest provider of clothespins in the United States, and it was the same old, very high quality, very well made clothespins that have been in the market for over 100 years, that do well. An early innovation that we did was doing was really bringing the first knockdown drying rack to market. And this wasn't a, wow, this product is so innovative and it's going to change the way that the world does laundry or dries their clothes. But it was the ability to get a product that forever would take up 24 inches wide on the shelf of a retailer and be extremely difficult to ship to consumers if they bought it on e-commerce. And we were able to put it in a box that was about 8 inches wide. And that was a game changer, because now retailers could fit multiple products and multiple facings of this product on the same amount of space, so that they weren't able to do it before. And now it could be shipped for a significantly lower expense than it could before, and it would take the consumer 5 minutes to put the thing together. And the quality was always very, very good on this. So that was kind of an innovation that I was very proud of, that we came out with very early, and it was a game changer. And we had a lot of copycats doing that, but very proud of that product.
That's fantastic. I think a lot of inventors think they need to come up with that mind-blowing innovation that nobody's ever seen before, but going back to basics, do what works, maybe put a little bit of a spin on it, but you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. That's such a good point.
Yeah, to that point as well, I'll say that we sold a lot of the same products that other companies had been selling for many, many years before us. Like, with coat hangers, there's not a lot of innovations going on with coat hangers, but
Mhm.
we were the largest brand selling coat hangers online. And these were certainly not our original inventions, but we were able to bring them to market in a way that others couldn't, that consumers wanted, and fulfill that need.
Yeah, and that circles back to knowing your customer and knowing e-commerce really well, as well as being amazing at packaging and branding and all of that too.
Yep.
That's that all factors into it for sure. So, final bonus question here about your personal motivation. What still excites you after, most 17 years of running Honey Can Do, seeing a new idea, growing a business or something else? Like what gets you up in the morning? What gets you fired up?
Yeah, it's a lot. I still have my passion. So since I sold Honey Can Do, and I did not want to stay on there, I got a little bit burnt
Mm.
out. And
Sure.
I'm now reinvigorated. I'm still doing my triathlons. I'm getting ready. The Chicago Marathon, as we tape this, is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm enjoying my running. And just keep my mind engaged is something that I absolutely want to do. My dad retired at a relatively young age, and without kind of the social stimulation and the mental stimulation, I think it made a difference in his life, that he didn't have that and wasn't as involved as much. So for me personally, I'm enjoying serving on the boards that I'm with and engaging with those individuals. I'm looking at opportunities to be on other boards and be involved with other companies. And I get calls from recruiters pretty regularly. And if there was the right full-time opportunity, to do something that I was passionate about, I would certainly explore that. Although at the same time, I'm enjoying, the summer in Chicago is phenomenal, and I'm enjoying that
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not far from you, so we get the same weather.
Absolutely.
When you get through winter and then the rest is fine.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, any final thoughts for our Inventor's Edge listeners?
No, that's I admire folks that have the ability and the desire to come out with new and innovative and exciting products. And I would say that if there's truly their dream to do this, they should pursue it. At the same time, just kind of make sure that your product is something that that there's a need for in the market before you make a large investment in something that might not go too far.
Yeah, great advice, wise words from someone who has been there and done that. How can people get in touch with you if you're open to it, if they have a
Absolutely.
question or
Oh, that's LinkedIn is always the best way. Would love to engage with folks through there, and support as best I can. I don't have any skin in this and no ulterior motives, but I certainly would enjoy seeing people be successful.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time and it's been great having you on. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Inventor's Edge podcast. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, and if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a review, and please share it with fellow inventors. Your next breakthrough could be just around the corner. For more tools, tips, and resources, visit us at inventors-edge.com. Until next time, invent with purpose, innovate with passion, and bring your ideas to life.